Hello internet! Silverwolf is out and everyone is hyping her up as the best debuffer in the game. So today we're gonna put her to the ultimate test. I'll be using Silverwolf and 3 other absolutely free characters that are all E6. Well, I would have turned them off, but I can't. To handicap myself, I underleveled some of them, gave them barely level relics, and not unlocking much of their traces at all. I like to hurt myself. Firstly, this is my Silverwolf. I give her these stats because every other guide says so. I'm using her own lightcone because if you want her to do damage, you kinda need this. And with that, it is time to get a stroke. How exciting. Memory of Chaos 1 sees the enemy weak to wind and the quantum element. It's like they designed this character to die. And needless to say,
I begin to pass out.
Too darn easy. As you can tell from my 1.6k health Dan Hang, he's not even built. And honestly, the takeaway here is that Silverwolf can do decent damage even as a support character. And that is actually just too good. Anyways, we move on to stage 2. Since I used a totally free-to-play team plus Silverwolf, I ran out of other characters, so it's time to
disappear among the sea of butterflies. Illusions of the
Ah yes, the power of money is exhilarating and depressing. Next up, we have Memory of Chaos 2. The first stage went like
disappear.
Second stage was not hard though. I led with the Fire Trailblazer Shield and March's Shield, which directs aggro onto the MC. What could go wrong? What the crud? Seriously? Memory of Chaos 2 and we already lost? We gotta do 10 of this, you know. In any case, I was trolling where Dan Heng had a level 1 cone, so let's fix that real quick. You yell at me saying it's a 5-star, but I really don't got anything else that's leveled, and I really just need some flat stats anyway. We ran it back, and since the fatter Sparrow has fire and ice weakness to begin with, Silverwolf can only plant quantum or wind weakness on him. I got a wind weakness here, and with the amount of breaks, I was able to destroy this guy pretty easily. I should not have even struggled from the first place, but somehow a hyper-provoking double-shielded Fire MC was less appealing to hit than Dan Heng according to this guy. Third phase, we're going against some rocks. This guy's already weak to quantum, that means get me that huge entanglement damage. I want to be entangled with you. One thing I realized with this is that Silverwolf's ability to get that quantum break effect is just super strong. Next elite on this stage though is the Skinny Sparrow with that one red colored route for a right arm and lost its other arm. I don't know, he's been through a lot. And montages aside because I'm lazy, the best setup with a free-to-play team would just be these two. I just couldn't die to this guy thanks to all the barrier and aggro directing. I kept planting weaknesses on the boss and it's either he gets frozen, wind sheared, or entangled, all of which led to his death. Pretty easy and Silverwolf is doing wonders. I've got to kill these guys too? Darn it. Second stage went like But anyways guys, consider what you've just watched, a prequel, and now we enter the actual gameplay that matters. Phase 4 is when most people struggle because Gapart's weaknesses are like kind of niche. You have the lightning element, which the only free option is Serval, but his minions though aren't weak against it. Which is why this is a perfect fight for Silverwolf where she brings the weaknesses you need. And I also just realized Dan Heng isn't a female. That is lame, so bring in the waifus. You realize that my team's element are all over the place, which you can still see how Silverwolf can function still. But first, I'm too weak. Here we go! Silverwolf and her 3 friends versus Gapart. First, we have to murder the wannabe Gaparts. Listen, you will never be Gapart. You're Silver main guard, you hear me? You will never be him. The thing is, Silverwolf might actually say that canonically, and that is just adorable when Silverwolf, but is horrifying when it's me. Either way, after implanting the fire weakness, bro is weak to every single one in my team. He went down quicker than my grades after discovering Honkai Star Rail. The true challenge though begins now. We hit Gapart with Silverwolf's technique, which ignores their weakness type, which is just so darn useful, man. I decided to first use Silverwolf's E, hoping for quantum weakness, but well, darn it. I let it rip anyway, and I did 1/3 of what a Silo would do, but it's still good enough to bring him down by 11% of his health. I planted the weakness again, and this time I got the quantum weakness. I went for a basic attack later because I didn't want to reset the weakness, but it is apparent that a basic attack at level 1 trace sucks. So I went for a gamble, got the entanglement, used her ult, did what my crappy Dan Heng does on a crit, and crippled Gapart to the point where he is questioning life. What's the meaning of life? Get a load of this guy though, he's in full breakdown mode. Entanglement did double what Dan Heng's ult did, and burn! Gapart is down! I was skeptical about Silverwolf being a solo DPS, but she is holding her own fine. Phase 5 sees Kokoli, a cosplayer that is already weak to Quantum, and Baymax Unhinged Edition. By the way, I would show you Silverwolf versus everything, but I can't use her twice, so I'll try finding the harder ones with her, though at this point, there are no longer any easy fights. With a few disappearing butterflies, we move on to Bratty Sis versus Blue Balls. They are level 78, but can solo damage dealer Silverwolf beat the left blue ball? Let's find out. We planted the quantum weakness with Superwolf into an ultimate, which easily convinced me that this girl can hold her own as a full-fledged damage dealer. These little guys exploded all over me, but somehow it didn't really just murder me though. Usually remember chaos, as long as you have one repeatable cycle where you can survive and do damage, you just win. That is exactly what happened here. Just kept living with the amount of healing and barrier this team provided, and yeah, a lot of people forget, but Superwolf has slow and attack down too, which made sure that this guy couldn't sit on me to death constantly. Without her devos, March might have actually just died here. With all of this utility and Superwolf being able to deal good damage, the first blue ball is down. However, it seems that we can no longer get that 3-star clear even with a PayPal team on the other side though. Either way, we still have to defeat the bluer ball. It's weak against Quantum to begin with, which made my life a crud ton easier. He kept summoning these little guys, but the Fire Trailblazer and March were enough to keep them occupied. And with a few sort of wilds that giga hurt by the way, Fire MC stopped this blue ball and tore it apart. It exploded all everywhere, and Superwolf as the solo DPS prevails. We didn't get to see the 3-star run though, but the challenge is just to defeat all stages with Superwolf. I'll try a 3-star challenge soon though, and that'll definitely be a lot harder. Next we see phase 6 with Bronya, and well, not sure why, but I used this guy how many times already? I could take the easy route and PayPal team through Bronya, which is the harder boss here, but I like hurting myself, so let's do Superwolf and the maidens I wish were real and are all somehow simultaneously in love with a loser like me. I need a real waifu, man. After showing Bronya my armpits a bunch of times, I shot in her face and started a fight. A bunch of depressed gremlins. That guy's like the last hope. Oh, never mind. The first phase was a piece of cake, but the second phase is when it got tougher. In order to win, Bradley's sister needs to defeat the Brick Brawling 6'2" armed soldiers. They did a lot to stop her, but for the fact that they were all weak to Quantum to begin with, we are able to keep entangling them with Superwolf, and boom, get wrecked! After like 7 entanglements, they both died. Thankfully, I was able to sustain with Fire MC, March, and Natasha though. At this point, it is almost impossible to tank them without 3 of these, to be honest. Well, given my March is level 60 and my Natasha is like +6 relics on average. And finally, time to find my older, bustier, hotter, and more graceful doppelganger. Surely I'm not the only one who thought they look similar. The issue with this fight is that Bronya doesn't really ever have a weakness unless I murder her minions. But when I do murder them, she just brings in more in. So being the monkey I am, I said, screw this dude, I'm just gonna bulldoze through Bronya. This stage is where Superwolf's debuffs really prove its worth. The defense decrease made our whole team's damage respectable, while the slow and attack down made Bronya hit like a wet noodle. By hitting only Bronya, the debuffs never ended, and Superwolf was able to tear down Bronya in style. Oh yeah. Next up was, well, but ladies and gentlemen, as the video starts to feel boring AF now, I present to you the hardest stages of this entire run, Phase 7. Why Phase 7? Because these space rocks are playing Simulator Universe in the overworld. I went with a good old team of maidens, and here was my reaction when I got to the rocks. What? What? You can do it again? Where's my team? I guess we should say their damage are out of this world. Get it? There's space route. I never did well in this whole humor thing ever. But you know me, I'm a huge nerd, so I went ahead and figured out a way to beat this. In order to win, I just needed to have FRES. It is, however, impossible to have enough to resist the freeze 100% of the time, so all I could do is get as much as I could. Thankfully, there's a lightcone that does exactly that. I slapped out on Natasha and went it one more time. This time though, I deliberately saved 5 skill points and full ultimates before going into the bosses. Luckily as well, they are weak to Quantum, and with Superwolf being practically the best Quantum breaker right now, all I had to do was dunk everything I had into one of the space rocks. After Superwolf splashed all her juices onto this rock, I got the ice weakness as well, which meant the Fire MC and March can both lower down its toughness. That meant we are able to weakness break this rock turn 1, stopping it from using its AoE freeze attack. All I have to do now is make sure they never get to both use their AoE freezes on me on the same turn, because that thing is impossible to survive with my weak stats at the moment. Tanking even one of them rendered my March half dead, so I had to be really careful. Once the broken rock restored itself, I had to break the other rock. While doing so, I had to deal with being near death every darn turn. But with good enough timing with Natasha's heal and Superwolf's debuff, my team is able to barely script by each cycle. You'll also realize I'm doing no damage because only Superwolf had any. I had to really utilize entanglement, or else I would just get stalled out. It was grueling. Everyone in my team had their near-death experience, and I had faith in my waifus that I'm sure are all simultaneously in love with me. Yeah! Oh, let's get slimy! With 16 cycles remaining, I have one more fight, but I have Daddy Jing and the world's strongest Bailu, so double murder, double the excitement. Whew. That was really difficult. I'm sure there are easier ways like building my characters right or using Asta, which I don't have relics on, but either way, I won. And a happy Soulwolf needs a happy day. At this point, I'm no longer sure if I can pull this off. I'd be near one tapped in phase 7, dude. But there's no good video without blood-curdling effort, so let's solo DPS Soulwolf against an over-leveled beast that can probably one-shot me. We're still able to clear stage 1 without much effort because again, well, we're strongest pilot right here. But we move on to the true challenge. The horse with the same color palette as Soulwolf. Surprisingly enough, this guy wasn't able to do too much against the constant Fire MC, March, and Natasha protection. Or I guess I should say, unsurprisingly enough, because I literally built a wall of China here. You'd think that that's it, but no, that wasn't even the actual boss. The boss stage is basically the same horse I've beaten, but there's 2 of them now. And here's what's worse. Both of them does not have the quantum weakness, nor do they have fire or ice weakness. They're only weak against my darn Natasha on my team. And I'm not about to bring my barely usable Dan Heng here. If Soulwolf pulls this off, I'd be darn shocked. And when Soulwolf's ult barely did a scratch while they both charge up the most attention-grabbing ultimate ever, it just looked doomed. I had one win condition. I have to keep entangling them and getting the quantum weakness constantly, or else I'll either die before they do or get stalled out. While doing all of that, I have to perfectly place March's shield and Natasha's heal, or else I'll be near one shot by their charged attack. It was... well, I wanted to sound dramatic, but I was lucky enough to get this run on the first try. I got a good amount of quantum weakness implant and was able to defeat them too darn easy. Actually, like, that was not close at all. I had a lot more space to wiggle around with. I could have probably beat them with one less character. If anything, someone could have soloed this, bro. And that concludes phase 8. You think the storm is over, but Stormbringer is here to ruin my life. Thankfully though, it's a lot easier to defeat these horses with March and Natasha. All I needed was that one trace that cleansed off debuffs, and that's really it. They can't really shoot the arrows unless we have the wind shear debuff on. So it was a gosh darn cakewalk, dude. I won without losing anyone. I have 5 cycles left, and I have a whole Svarog to beat. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are fucked. With that, the challenge went to a halt. I am out of ideas. Well, not really. I just had to put a ceiling in, you see, and that's what I would say if I want to disappoint you guys. I have built Qingque, gave her acceptable gear, and got her to level 67. I also unlocked a whopping 0 major traces and went in. Needless to say, without March, my team had an astounding resemblance to a graveyard. What the crud am I looking at, man? But thankfully, if I just get rid of wind shear, I won't get shot by the bosses. And just so happens, Qingque would usually take a turn, attack, get another turn right before the bosses do because she's pushed by the turbulence, and literally shakes off the wind shear that way. And there you have it, folks. Qingque is pretty much never going to die to these horses. With one less worry, I just gotta make sure Soul will survive. These two, well, they'll find a way. I got close to death anyway though, because their stomps are still a force to be reckoned with. But if Cyril was able to do it, Qingque definitely could. We beat the bosses, and this time with 24 cycles left. The next stage is just a bloodbath for Jingyuan, because Svarog is never strong enough without a Clara in danger by its side. So yeah, we turned out victorious. And finally guys, the final phase between us and ultimate victory. Phase 10. Yo. Yes guys, 2 mob hits kills me at this point, but with enough luck I was able to not have Qingque be hit 10 out of 2 times, and we moved to our other toughest challenge, the rock. But instead they are burning in rage this time. The problem with these rocks are that their burns are just unfair. Just like the ice rocks, they can keep doing it with only 1 turn of downtime. Each time they do it, it's a random multi-target burn, and if you have 4 stacks or more from each boss, you can pretty much assume you're dead. I lost that run, but the one to save the day is the one that replaced the date in Google searches, March 7th. Seriously though, if you Google March 7th, you'll see a full page of this girl. Imagine a future kid just searches up random dates and gets sent into confusion when they see March 7th, a pink-haired anime girl. But anyways, at this point, I was at my wit's end. Over 5 hours of grabbing these footages and retrying runs, but we're fine now. I've got the formula. All we need is a lot of cleansings and less of fire MC. The reason here being that these space rocks doesn't actually one-shot me with their direct damage. It's with their burn. If I can cleanse them, I can live. Very simple plan. And to my surprise, it was a lot easier than I thought. The ice rocks were a lot harder because if I get debuff, I just lose the turn and I can't do anything. But with these fire rocks, I can just get burned, take the turn, heal or cleanse. They couldn't really keep up with my cleansing and barriers, so yeah. Just so happens as well, they are already weak to my whole team anyway. I didn't even have to implant anything with Soul. They just kept being weakness broke, and we just walked on over to the final stage. Whoa. How the heck, dude? You just 100-0 my butt? I was ready to give up, but then I remembered, because I was forced to use March and Natasha, that means my Fire Trailblazer was still available. The only way I don't get one-shot like this is if I kept weakness breaking at least one of these 2. And Fire Trailblazer is the only way I can do that. It's less about this and more about me having to fight those fire rocks again! Gosh dang it! 20 minutes later, we're here. This was supposed to just be a Silverwolf video defeating the game, but somehow it turned into me full sweating. I'll skip the details because my brain is fried at this point, but I was able to break one of their weaknesses, got my bearers up when I needed, had the world's best and cutest pilot, and bang! We have done it. We have defeated Honkai Star's toughest content with a Silverwolf plus a fetal 18 and a paintball team to help it out. Hey, main point, Silverwolf? Definitely very valuable. This was one of the hardest challenges I've ever done because I had to win with a very half-built team of characters. I'm sure you'll have an easier time if you have lightly put more effort in building them. And I forced myself to not use a single gacha character for one of the teams, so the whole video is really just me constantly punching myself in the balls. But anyways, I can say now, Silverwolf is undoubtedly worth your summons because of how versatile you can be with her. She can fight any enemies really and always have the chance at getting that weakness you want on the enemies. While her debuffs keep chipping away at the enemies, you will survive better too when they are slowed and attacked out. While doing all of that, she provides enough damage for you to call her a secondary DPS. But anyways, I'll have to put an end to this 4,000 word script. I need to go rest now, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and take care.